when I took a photograph of her, and later on I painted this. And as Indrani has already introduced my work with coffee, what I think about working with coffee. So I won't repeat that again, but I can request Indrani to show the last four works that I have done during this period of COVID. Initially, when COVID started in 2020, I didn't have the mood to do anything at all. And then maybe towards the middle of 2021, I felt like working again after the cyclone devastated Bengal, and I saw how people lost their homes and everything, and still they were striving and they were working hard. So then I thought I should not allow my uh, inertia to take over me, and I should try to work again with coffee. And this was one of the first paintings called Sadhana 1, where I thought the turmoil outside does not allow a person, a singer, to get disturbed. And she is deeply into her uh, work, into her singing, and this is a form of meditation, and this is what art is all about. The passion, the involvement, the engagement in a meaningful way makes a person happy. So this was my first work where she is totally into her inward journey, I would call it, and into her sadhana. So this was the first work, and then I have three more in this series. And the second one is showing a dancing figure in an atmosphere where everything is motionless. The rest of it is motionless, and she is the only one in motion. So the previous one had motion all around her. It was a storm all around her, while she was still. She was meditating through her singing. And here in this one, she is dancing and totally engrossed in her dance. And her movement here, the vibrancy in her dance, is what is keeping her going in an atmosphere where everything else is totally not moving, totally still. She's all by herself in that atmosphere, but she's engaged in her dance. So this was sadhana 2. And then slowly, as I started enjoying again my work with coffee, this third one is again someone with a musical instrument, and she's also surrounded by no one. She's all by herself, and she is not dependent on her exterior for her happiness. She's happy with her own music, her involvement in the music. So this is sadhana 3, and then we have the fourth one, which is sadhana 4, where a sculptor from a rural background who has lots of other things to do, but she is still pursuing her work and enjoys doing something creative, and that shows the liberation. The sculpture itself is a symbol of liberation here. So, in spite of everything that can happen in a rural background, I have seen they are still into a lot of creative work. So, this is a symbol of that.
All of these are so unique, and I'm just wondering that, what is the So when you were creating these ones, because there are very, 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 I mean, it's not just that you are painting the main characters in the picture, but you also have got very minute, finer details in the background. You know what,
Yes.
which we see in the rural one that you said at the very
Mm.
end, or the third one. And what is the material where you are actually painting it? Is it watercolor paper, or is
Yes.
it more canvas, or?
Yes. These are very good quality watercolor paper. And I have always worked on watercolor paper, though people do work on canvas. And now, actually, I can find online that coffee art is catching up a lot. There are people all around the world painting with coffee and doing beautiful work with coffee. Some are doing on canvas, but I like to do it on watercolor paper because that can give a lot of effects which I would like to have
Hmm.
on watercolor paper. When I'm using coffee, I can use it like watercolor. I can use it like acrylic. I can use it like charcoal in some cases, and also I can use it like oil painting. So I can use the techniques that I've learned in the traditional medium on coffee, on watercolor paper, using coffee as a medium. And I would say that coffee is very unique. None of the other mediums have the characteristics of coffee, and it has a challenge, no doubt, but it depends on how you can handle it, and that is the interesting part of working with coffee. That it throws a challenge, and when you try to overcome that challenge and you're satisfied with your work, it gives you immense satisfaction.
So, do you think that, you're talking about this satisfaction? Is it more to do with how you use those colors in different layers, or when the shades, like you were saying, that you quite like the sepia shades, because that makes it quite unique, and coupled with the aroma as well, isn't it? So altogether, so what is it that you think that coffee painting stands out, and why is it that you left the traditional medium for the coffee art?
Okay, that was a circumstance which made me try out this new medium. And that was back in 2012 when I was traveling and I didn't have my traditional medium with me. But there was coffee cups every morning after I drank coffee at my son's place, where he would make it himself, the coffee. Every day, the little cups of espresso cups would have a little bit of coffee remaining inside. So I took a paintbrush and tried to use it, and I found the effect was excellent. So that's how it started. And then, actually, after that, we moved to Reading. We were in Reading for a while, and it was winter approaching. So it was quite uh, dark, and my watercolor wasn't looking that nice under artificial light. So again, I thought, why not start working in monochrome? And I started working with coffee again. So, and of course, I love the aroma. You can see I'm still holding a cup of coffee with me and drinking it while I'm talking to you. The aroma is definitely very mesmerizing or attractive, and that I can feel that when I'm working with coffee, that it's a kind of larger engagement, I would say. I'm not only using my mind, my skill, my imagination, I'm also enjoying the smell, the smelling sense.
Hmm.
So it is a involvement of more of my senses when I'm working with coffee, and that gives immense pleasure. So what you were asking is that why coffee? So these, I think, are the answers why I use coffee. And the challenge itself is a wonderful way. I think I can engage myself in a meaningful way. So I think that gives me the pleasure.
And I can see the coffee because, like you said, that when you are in waiting, like because of the light and everything, and because it becomes so dark, and the coffee aroma actually helps
Yeah,
to uplift the mood a little bit as well. Like when we are
absolutely.
leaving for work in the morning in dark or coming back
Yeah,
from work, everything is dark.
yeah,
But I think I can get it, and I think especially like for us as well here in summer, particularly we don't like you don't always need that coffee. Tea can go with, but
yeah,
in winter coffee is a must.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah. So
And
yeah.
the other thing I would like to point out here is that when you're working with coffee, because it is monochromatic medium, there is only one scope of expressing your work, that is through the contrasts. The
Hmm.
only thing that works over there is the white of the paper and various shades of the same uh, color, that is the coffee color, but it's on all different tones of that coffee color. And that I had to, slowly learn how to use coffee to get that shade which I really wanted to have. There is a lot more to talk about it, but that will be away from what we are doing today. So, because you can go on experimenting with coffee,
Hmm.
and it's not only the tonal shade, it has the ability to create textures. You can get
Hmm.
very different types of textures which you can produce with different strengths of coffee, different kind of brushes. And this particular picture in the background, you can see so much of texture being
Yeah.
created with coffee.
I think I find that with different colors, it is still easy to create or draw and paint because colors do pull different things as well together, isn't it? But
Yeah.
with coffee, you need to focus more, rather,
Mhm.
isn't it? Like, I don't know.
Well, I think it is kind of an eye for it, which you need
Hmm.
to bring out the monochrome effectively.
Hmm.
So you're mainly focusing here on light and shade.
Light and
And
shade.
I don't use anything else besides coffee. So the white that you see is the white of the paper. And in
Hmm.
order to keep it white and do the remaining part with coffee, you have to think ahead which part you want to keep white. Once it picks up the coffee color, you cannot bring back the white of the paper. So you have to give it a thought before you start working. That these are the parts I want to keep absolutely white. And it
Yeah.
requires the people also to work around the white. So that is the
Yeah.
challenge.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that we're going to work with you today a little bit as well. But before we move on to that, I was thinking that if we would like to give a little bit of an idea of how to actually make the shades, or the how to make the coffee, or how do you actually, what kind of coffee and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So generally, I over here in US, because my son is preparing the coffee every day. What I do is I keep the spent coffee ground. I'll show you that. The spent coffee ground, I collect it and I dry it in the sun. This is the spent
Mm.
coffee ground. And once it is dry, I soak it again in water and filter it. Then I will use the filtrate. I will evaporate the filtrate till the time I get a proper consistency, like what you, it is like a paint, and I can store it for months. Nothing happens to
Okay.
it. And
Hmm.
then I will dilute it with water to the desired strength and use it for the painting. So when I want to use a very dark shade and with a hard brush to get textures, then maybe I'll put very little water in it. But when I want to use it like watercolor, I'll add more water and spread it like watercolor with a watercolor brush.
Hmm.
So these are techniques which I have developed over the years working with it. And that is the, as you explore, you get to know more about how you can use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So, but now today's work, what
hmm.
I'm going to demonstrate today, there I have used the Nescafe instant coffee. Now everyone cannot prepare their coffee the way I do from coffee grounds. So you can also use the or Nescafe instant coffee. You add some water to it, take it in a utensil which can be heated over the, not on the flame directly, but you should heat it very carefully, gently, just to drive away the water and to make it into a thick paste. So you have to go on stirring it while you're heating it at very low heat, and slowly it will become like a paste. You cool it and then you use it like a paint. So that is what
So
I'm going to use today.
if we want to lighten that after it has thickened,
Hmm.
if we want to lighten it, do we need to add cold water or warm
Cold
water?
water, cold
Cold.
water. It's just like watercolor pen.
Okay.
You can just add water and make it of whatever strength you want. It can be used like that.
That's great. So I am ready with the paper as well to kind of try it
Okay,
out
that
a
will be
little bit
great.
as you're
Yeah,
doing it. Of course, I mean,
yeah,
this is the first time.
mhm,
Sorry, the second time. So I
yeah.
will try and do a little bit of that and then we'll see how it goes.
So
So,
first, maybe you can show first the video where I introduce the tonal effect of coffee by uh, adding layers.
yeah, let me know if this one is the right
Make
one.
a
Is this the right one?
Yeah, that is the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
stir of coffee and water and a flat brush. I'm first going to make 5 rectangles and allow it to dry completely. Then with the same mixture, I'm putting the second layer. This time I'm leaving out the last rectangle. Once it has dried completely, I'm applying the third layer. This time I've left out the last two. I have repeated this process till I'm left with only one rectangle, and thus I've created the shading required. So here is another way of getting the shading, starting with a very dark tone and allowing it to spread to lighter tones with water.
I think the
This
video is
needs to be
stuck.
done while it is still wet and can be used for shading and producing.
I think the video got stuck.
Three-dimensional effects.
So, am I?
Next, I am showing a very simple exercise in tonal values. I'm taking a very light tone to begin with.
I don't know whether I'm audible.
I'm drawing a rectangle first.
Uh, I think the sound and the picture weren't going together.
Light tone to begin and can be used for shading and producing three-dimensional effects. Next, I am showing you a very simple exercise in tonal values. I'm taking a very light tone to begin with. I'm drawing a rectangle first. Next, I'm filling it up, leaving a little space in white in the shape of a rectangle. This particular surface is receiving the maximum light, and hence I have left the white of the paper for that particular area. Once this is completely dry, I'm mixing some more of the coffee paint to get a darker shade and applying it for the other two surfaces of this box. One has to be very careful when applying the second layer, not to disturb the earlier layer, and also one should make sure that the earlier layer has dried completely before applying the next layer. Once this has dried completely, I'm taking some more paint to get an even darker shade for the third surface of the box. Again, I'm being very careful in applying the third layer so that the earlier layers are not disturbed. A soft brush is ideal for this. Thus, with the help of three different tones, one is able to give it a three-dimensional effect.
This was great and very nicely explained. Sometimes the oh, you are muted.
You could hear the sound properly?
I
Is
could
it
hear the
audible?
sound, but I think that the video was stopping in between
Yeah.
and it was not playing, so I had to kind of stop and replay again. But that
Mm.
might be because of the internet speed. So, yeah. So I will try the next video. I will try actually sharing the screen rather than because sometimes it might lag a little when we are sharing it through the StreamYard. So I
Mm.
will try and do that by sharing the screen and
Okay.
see if that is better.
Okay. And I need to give a commentary along with that. So that's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
that's possible.
Okay.
So I think that this is the one that we learned. Like I was just trying to do a little bit. Couldn't finish the whole of it, but just to share.
Ah,
Uh, just did.
yeah.
So yeah, I was just trying to do it, and I think that the coffee shades actually spread. Like when you let it dry a little bit
You
and
need
then do
to,
the layers, it
yeah.
works better, isn't it?
Yeah. That is a must. You
That is a
have to
must.
let it, you have to let it dry completely before applying the next layer. And
Hmm.
also the paint brush you're using must be a very soft one used for watercolor painting, so
Hmm.
that it does not remove the earlier layer.
Oh,
So,
okay.
mm,
Yeah, yeah.
mm,
So that's this is really good. Yeah.
mm.
So
But
shall
this
we
way
go?
you can get a three-dimensional effect, as you saw in the previous one. Just by
Yeah.
applying different shades, you are getting a three-dimensional effect there.
Yes. Yeah.
So whether you want to keep it in two dimension or three dimension, it depends on the way you are handling the tones.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I don't know whether people could hear it properly. The first line was little rectangles. So after putting the first layer, you have to wait till it dries. Then you put the second layer. This way, by leaving out the last one and doing the rest, you can get a gradation from very dark to absolutely light. And the other way of doing it is to start with a dark shade on one end, and then with just with water, spreading it while it's still wet to get the other shades.
Hmm. Okay. For the lighter shades, yes.
Mm, yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Um. So the next one that we have is. Shall we play the next one?
Before you play the next one, if anyone wants to do it along with the video, then all you need is it will be better to have watercolor paper. If you don't have watercolor paper, then just a sheet of white paper you can try. This is a very simple exercise, and here you can see. It's actually a live plant that was in the room, which I thought would be a nice one to work with. So I've used a live subject there, and then I have shown how it can be produced in the way I have done it. So maybe there are parts where I have done it slowly so that people can see how it is done. And there are parts where it is going faster. It is a repetitive thing. So I have made it faster. So depends on whether you want to pause it at times. If you are working in running, then
Yeah.
you will know where you need to pause so
Pause.
that you can finish the part you are doing. And
Okay.
the thing is that one more thing you will need is a bit of kitchen towel or tissue. There is one part over there where I have used the technique called lifting. After it has dried, you can apply plain water, the parts where you want to make it more white, and then just dab it with the tissue paper. It will lift the coffee. So you'll see that I've done that in the work. So maybe you will require a piece of tissue or kitchen
Tissue.
towel. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay, you can start it now. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
first one was the real plant, and the second one was the finished effect after it was done. And here is the Nescafe mixed with water and heated to make it into a paste and then diluted again. Here is the sketch of the work, and I'm starting the painting now. I have used watercolor paper over here. This is a light shade of coffee. So if you want to work with a darker shade on top of it later on, then you can start with a light shade. Joyanto's research work is about using the digital medium to for arts or music. So here we can see that I'm using the digital medium to show how you can use coffee for painting, and this would involve a much bigger viewer, uh, people viewing it than what you can do in a workshop. A workshop can handle only a few people at a time. But the advantage of using the digital medium is to show it to people all around the world and a much bigger viewer group. One more thing one has to be careful about while working with coffee, just like watercolor also, is that you have to see that your hand does not touch the uh, part you have just completed while it's still wet, then it will smudge or it will get lifted. Now I'm attaching borders to the leaves. That I'm doing with a very thin brush. The earlier work was done with a thicker brush, but this one with a very thin brush. So after adding the outlines to the leaves, next we'll be doing the inner part, the details of the leaves. And as you can see, this is not a replica of the photograph. It is a way of expressing the same uh, subject in a different way. This is a very simple work, and I think everyone should be able to do it. It doesn't require too much of artistic skills. And maybe there is not much time here for you to draw the whole thing and then do it. You can just try doing one leaf now, and later on you can do it when you have time for the whole work with all the details in it. You can just try one leaf for the time being. While I'll be working on the remaining part, you can just try one leaf to see how it feels to work with coffee. That's the details of the leaf for one leaf. I'll be doing that for other leaves also. So, and I have speed, this increase the speed here because it is a repetitive work. Now I'll do the stem with a thin brush because it's a very thin stem. And it will definitely look better if you can do it in one go instead of stopping in between when you're doing the stem. You can leave it like this if you wish, or you can do the next part which you'll be watching is how I can remove some of the coffee by the process called lifting. Here I'm using plain water and a thin brush, and then I will dab it with a tissue that will lift the coffee in the parts where I want to make it white. There. When I press the tissue on top of it, it lifts the coffee and makes it white. I use this technique quite a lot in my work because that gives a very special effect. It makes it less hard, I would say, and gives it a softer look. This is just water. I'm just using water to lift the paint. And there I'm pressing it with this. I think that gives a very nice effect. You can do that for all the leaves, or you can do it only for a few of the leaves. It's up to you what you want to do. These are the very basic techniques used in my coffee work. And as I told you earlier, you can use different types of brush and you can use different strength of the coffee paint to produce a lot of texture and other effects. All cannot be shown in one day, but I'm showing you just the basic ones. Okay, that was all that I had to show today. And I hope you enjoyed watching how you can do the painting. Later on, you can always look at it and take your time to do it.
Yeah, I think that, it's a different, like the colors and how much darken. So I'll share the ones that I've done. It's not anywhere near what you have done, but it's something that, I was just trying out the leaves
Ah,
differently, and
yeah,
I found
yeah,
that this one
yeah.
was, this one was a bit
Yeah.
easier when I just
Mm.
slanted the coffee, and because I didn't make it much thicker, therefore I was not
Mhm.
getting that kind of brown, that I have used here, this one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But then when I tilted it, I saw that at the very bottom there was a bit, a precipitation, and I
Yeah.
just took a little bit of that to do it.
Okay.
And now I get it, like how basically you can darken it. Maybe you can, use it,
Yeah,
make it thicker, and then light it
yeah,
later on.
yeah.
Because as you can see, I've added a lot of water actually,
Ah,
which I
yeah.
shouldn't have. But then when
Um,
I'm slanting it, then I'm getting a
mm.
little bit of darker things from here.
Yeah.
So
So
and,
what I would suggest is that if you mix coffee and water, instant coffee and water, and heat it a little bit to make it into a paste,
yeah,
then you can take whatever amount you want from there and add whatever amount of water you want to add to it to get the proper consistency that you need.
okay, okay.
Okay, so
No, this
I
is really good. I mean,
hope people who are watching would like to try it out because this will be on the YouTube, right?
yes, this is on the YouTube, and this is also, so there are some comments coming in. So I'll share the comments now. So Anjanadi again, she has done worldly art with us
I know, yeah.
and the dot painting. So
I I
fantastic
love
art.
I I love her dot painting. That's
Look at that.
wonderful.
You have
Yeah,
watched that, isn't it? It's a,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So what she's saying, good evening, Sudakshina madam. I am a great admirer of your coffee painting. In fact, you're my teacher in this regard.
Oh, how
Ah,
wonderful! How wonderful! Thank you, Anjana. Thank you.
and then some of the comments from her here. There are some comments which I can't actually bring in here from Facebook, but I can see that
Okay,
there are some people have actually engaged on Facebook as well. But of course, the comments doesn't come in through here.
okay, okay.
What I would say is that all of these are available on Manavutsav YouTube channel. So you can go in and you can actually, start, pause, do it in your way. But that's where you can find it. What we will also do is, because it's already there, we will also send this out to participants, and then try it out with them. Uh,
Hmm.
in different, at different pace throughout this year. So we will be doing it throughout the year, and of course, because this is part of the PhD research, I'm
Yeah,
sharing a link now on the so you can find the link on the YouTube channel and on Facebook as well. It will be really very, very useful for us to get your feedback, so that we can try out methods. We can also understand what is working, what is not working, and what else you are practicing, or something that you find more therapeutic. So we're trying to understand. So part of this research is want to see what form of art actually work in helping building resilience within the community, and secondly, if there are methods that we have not worked with, we want to pick that up, and we want to learn more about it. So filling in the form will give us that scope to experiment a bit further.
that was wonderful, Indrani. I wish Joyanta was here.
I
And
know he has joined us. I can see that he was there on Facebook, and he was
okay.
there on, but I think that he's not feeling
Mm,
well at all. So I've said to him that,
mm,
don't worry, joining today.
mhm.
We will do it, and he will have that, the material. Then he can actually take it to his participants, and then he can try it in the form of a workshop where he will
Yeah,
play the video and do it that way.
yes,
But thank you
yes.
very much, really. I mean, this
It's
is
my
really good.
pleasure to be able to do something that people would, use later on and have, enjoy doing such work. It helps us to uh, engage our minds when we are disturbed in a way where we forget the rest of the world and we can just do what we are doing. And
Yeah, I think it's this is the main thing, isn't it? Like in this world, because we also are in the social media age at the moment, and there are lots and lots of noise, whether they be from the television or social media, or things that happening. And I personally find it very hard at times to kind of like, okay, I have got four tasks to complete, but there are so many things happening that days are just going very quickly, and it doesn't help me to focus much. But I think these kind of art actually might help, and that's what we are trying to find out as well. So do let us know if it works for you, and so definitely we will carry on. We are also trying to develop some workshops in the future. Again, Jantala will possibly be in touch with you again. Uh, and of course, I mean, next year, Manu Utsav, we will have you again. So I'm nailing that date down for you now.
but I hope it really helps people who want to do something different, something unique,
Yeah,
and this art definitely is something unique. It is you get the satisfaction of doing something which has not been done before.
no,
So
yeah. And that's the main thing, isn't it? And something that you have got, you don't have to pay much, because
no,
that's also one of the things that we have come across because of everything that's going around at the moment with inflation and everything. People
yeah,
might think that, well, it's going to be a bit more sophisticated for me to actually buy an acrylic paint of acrylic box, but coffee is something we all have in our kitchen
yeah.
anyway. So just grab
And,
it, take this opportunity and learn this art.
and on that note, I would like to add another point, which I feel in today's world we ought to be conscious about the environment.
Yeah,
All other forms of paint can cause some problem for the environment. After all, acrylic is plastic. It
mm,
changes into plastic kind of material. When you throw away the acrylic paint after painting, it is not biodegradable. I don't
no,
know whether today they're making biodegradable paints, but usually it is not. Whereas coffee, the coffee that I'm using is the coffee that has been already used for drinking. The spent coffee ground is being used. So it is recycling of something that has been thrown away, and it is environment friendly.
yeah. And coffee has been also used for the treatment of plants, and so
Yes,
you can also add the coffee. So it's not waste in that
no,
way at
it
all.
is not yours. No, no.
Um, you can try that out at many different levels. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so on that note, I'm not going to take any more time, and thank you very much again for joining us today, to all our participants, and also special thanks to Sudakshana Aditya for
Thank
joining
you.
us
Thank you.
amidst a busy schedule, and also the time difference. I'm quite
Yeah.
mindful. So yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you
Okay.
very much,
Bye.
Stable.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Thank you.
you.
Best
Bye.
wishes to you on Manav Utsav. Best wishes. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.